Something strange is happening in Seattle, and almost nobody outside the Pacific Northwest is paying attention. The Seahawks just lifted the Lombardi Trophy, the confetti barely settled, and already the national conversation has drifted somewhere else, chasing the Rams, chasing the Niners, chasing anything shiny. But while the cameras point the other way, the defending champions are quietly doing something that should terrify the rest of the league. Moves are being made, plans are being drawn, and the pieces fitting together behind closed doors look nothing like the quiet offseason the headlines keep selling you. Here's the part that changes everything. The quarterback just turned the page on a brand new chapter of his life. The head coach is rewriting the entire offseason schedule in a way no one saw coming. A signing the whole world laughed at is about to flip into one of the smartest deals of the year. A young quarterback nobody is talking about is climbing fast in the shadows, and the draft board is loaded with names that could reshape this roster for the next 5 seasons. Remember these, because every one of them matters before this video ends. Sam Darnold, Mike McDonald, John Schneider, Rashid Shaheed, Jaylen Milroe, D'Angelo Pons, Zion Young, Riley Mills. 8 names, 1 plan, 1 very dangerous champion hiding in plain sight. And then there is the rumor, the one floating around league circles right now that could shake the entire NFC if it actually happens. A blockbuster trade whisper involving one of the most feared defensive linemen in football. And Seattle's name keeps getting pulled into the conversation, whether the front office wants it or not. But before we touch that fire, we have to start where every championship defense lives or dies, under center, with the man who just walked off the field a champion and walked into a brand new life off it. Because what Sam Darnold is about to do next might be the most important storyline of this entire offseason. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Seahawks and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Forget the stat sheet for a second. The biggest play Sam Darnold made this offseason did not happen on a field. It happened at an altar. The man quietly got married, and the news broke in the strangest possible way, through a celebrity magazine before it ever hit a sports page. But here's why that tiny detail matters. A settled quarterback is a dangerous quarterback, and Seattle just got the most settled version of Sam they have ever had. Now rewind to the NFC Championship game, the moment this entire championship run was almost buried. Darnold stood in that pocket, the pressure squeezing him from every angle, and he delivered the throws that saved a season. That was not a game manager. That was a franchise guy quietly announcing himself. And the whispers have already started. If he wins another ring in Seattle, the Hall of Fame conversation stops being a joke and starts sounding a lot like the Eli Manning debate all over again. 2 titles can rewrite a career faster than any regular season ever could. But here's the twist nobody is ready for. The weapons around him are about to get scarier. The offense Seattle is quietly building is not the one that won the Super Bowl. It is the one designed to defend it. And the loudest argument in that room involves a wide receiver, everyone in the media already buried as the worst move of the entire offseason. The headline was brutal. Painfully obvious worst move of the offseason. That is what the national writers slapped on Rashid Shaheed the moment the 3-year, $51 million deal hit the wire. $17 million a year for a guy who barely touched the offense after the midseason trade? On paper, it looked like a front office that lost its mind. But paper lies. Here's what those writers forgot to mention. Back in New Orleans, before the injury and before the trade, Shaheed was cooking. In 9 games, he pulled in 44 catches for 500 yards as the number 2 option in a broken offense. Stretch that pace over a full season, and you're looking at a legitimate deep threat putting up close to 900 yards. The reason he disappeared in Seattle was simple. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp had the chemistry with Darnold locked in, and you do not break a Super Bowl rhythm halfway through a run just to force feed a new toy. But next year is a completely different story. A new coordinator, a full offseason, a clean slate, and a 27-year-old burner with real separation speed finally getting treated like a weapon instead of a decoration. The worst move in Seattle might end up being the steal of the offseason. And speaking of future weapons nobody saw coming, there's a young quarterback in this building quietly turning heads behind closed doors. Nobody wants to say it out loud yet, but it is already happening. Jaylen Milroe is climbing. Not in press conferences, not in highlight reels, but in the building, where it actually counts. And the people paying attention have started to notice the ceiling on this young quarterback might be higher than anyone in the league is willing to admit. Think about the raw tools for a second. The arm carries serious juice. The legs move like a running back who wandered into the wrong position meeting. The frame is built to take hits and keep coming. What he needs is the mental side to slow down, the football IQ to catch up to the physical gifts. And here's the detail nobody is connecting. He is working with Jordan Palmer, Mo, the same quarterback developer who helped shape Darnold into the guy Seattle just rode to a Super Bowl. That is not a coincidence, that is a pipeline. So the real question stops being whether Milroe is ready today. He is not, and nobody inside the building is pretending otherwise. The real question is whether Drew Lock survives the summer once preseason games start and Milroe gets real reps under real lights. This quarterback room has a plan for today and a plan for tomorrow, and both plans run through a head coach who is quietly rewriting how this entire offseason is supposed to work. Here's something almost nobody picked up on. Mike Macdonald just flipped the standard offseason playbook upside down, and he did it so quietly that most national reporters walked right past the story. The shortened offseason, the reward for playing deep into February, forced a choice. Rush everyone back into the building or build a smarter schedule. Macdonald picked smarter. The veterans are staying home longer. Guys like Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, Ernest Jones, and Julian Love do not need extra bag work in April. They need their bodies fresh in January. But the young core, the guys whose development actually moves the needle, they are back in the facility early. That is where the real story lives. Byron Murphy getting extra film time. Nick Emenwari, the kid who probably should have walked away with Defensive Rookie of the Year, getting another full offseason of growth. Riley Mills, building on a season that already ended better than it started. Gray Zabel, locking in his technique. Jalen Sundell, chasing a bigger role. That is not a coincidence. That is a competitive advantage hiding inside a calendar. Younger bodies bounce back faster, and younger minds have more runway to grow. Macdonald figured that out before anyone else did. But not every storyline this summer is going to stay behind closed doors. Some of them are about to get pulled into the brightest spotlight in sports. Whether Seattle wanted it or not, the cameras are coming. Hard Knocks picks Seattle, a Super Bowl champion on the summer stage, which almost never happens because the show usually chases drama, not trophies. And the reaction inside the fan base was split right down the middle. Some people loved the idea of a victory lap. Others worried the cameras would crack open a culture John Schneider has spent years protecting. Schneider himself sounded calm about it, leaning on advice from Ryan Poles and the Bears, promising to turn the experience into a positive instead of a distraction. And honestly, the storylines are loaded. The quarterback room. Ernest Jones finally getting the national spotlight he deserves. DeMarcus Lawrence bringing veteran gravity to a young locker room. The running back competition between George Halani, Emmanuel Wilson, and Zach Charbonnet coming back from injury. Behind the curtain, guys like Cody White and Jake Bobo fighting for every rep. Hard Knocks is about to eat this roster alive in the best possible way. But there is another shadow hanging over the schedule. The international games. Seattle was supposed to get an extra home game at Lumen this year, and the league has 9 overseas matchups lined up. A trip to Mexico City against the 49ers or a flight to London to face the Commanders could quietly steal that home edge. And the ripple effect on travel could bleed into an entire month of football. The scheduling chess is real, And so is the draft board waiting on the other side of it. This is where the offseason gets spicy. Seattle walks into this draft with only 4 picks, thanks to the Shaheed trade that cost a 4th and a 5th. And yet the names circling pick 32 are some of the most interesting prospects on the entire board. 3 in particular have Seahawks fans refreshing their mock drafts every single morning. Start with D'Angelo Ponds, the shutdown corner out of Indiana, who turned the Big Ten into his personal highlight tape. Months ago, people were talking about him as a late-round flyer. Now the kid is flying up boards after running in the low 4.3 range at his pro day, and Seattle's defensive scheme would wrap around him like a glove. Then there is Zion Young, the Missouri edge rusher who fits McDonald's vision perfectly. Not just a pass rusher, a complete defender, the tackles for loss, the pressure numbers, the versatility, everything Seattle looks for in a long-term replacement on the edge. As the veteran room ages out, and then there is the guy already wearing the uniform, Riley Mills, the second-year lineman who came back from a torn ACL and somehow still got better every single game as a rookie. Pair him long-term with Byron Murphy in the middle, and suddenly the future of this defensive line looks untouchable. 3 names, 3 futures, but none of them matter if the phone rings first. Because there is a trade rumor building right now that could change everything before the draft even starts. The biggest name on the trade block right now is Dexter Lawrence, and his situation in New York just exploded. A trade request, a contract standoff, a price tag close to $20 million, and the whispers around the league keep circling back to one question. Could Seattle actually make a run at him? Imagine a front 4 of Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, and Lawrence lined up together. On paper, it is nightmare fuel. In reality, the math is ugly. The Giants won a package built around a 1st and a 2nd, and Seattle already traded away picks for Shaheed. The door is barely cracked open. But here's where it gets interesting. The real move Seattle wants has nothing to do with trading up. John Schneider has been trading back for years. 2013, 2016, 2017, 2018, twice in 2019. The man is allergic to staying still on draft night, and this year, the quarterback carousel around pick 32 is the perfect storm. If Cleveland falls in love with Ty Simpson out of Alabama, and the Jets and Cardinals are sitting right behind at 33 and 34 ready to pounce, the Browns might have to leap up to grab him. That is Schneider's entire playbook. Trade back, stack picks, turn 4 selections into 6, reload a champion without ever breaking a sweat. So here is the real question I want you thinking about as we close this out. Is Seattle secretly running the smartest offseason in the entire league right now? Drop your answer in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you want every Seahawks rumor the moment it breaks, and I will catch you in the next one.